Ba 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 ba. Hello. You can call me Datto. I'm a blue whale Vtuber, and I'm blue. Today I'm gonna react to a video that talk about facts on whales and most importantly on blue whales. It will be very interesting. So let's get right into the main content of this video.
The largest animal of our time and the largest animal that ever lived. And yes, that includes dinosaurs and other ocean giants like Megalodon and Mosasaur.
Is there
How
is
enormous
like
blue whales are exactly and how they managed to become so
let's
large,
go.
that's what this episode will be about.
Let's go with the subtitles. Bum bum bum. Fact in motions.
Granted, blue whales are probably not the longest animal of all time, but measuring relative size and length would be somewhat problematic given the various shapes and forms life on Earth has already produced. That would lead to misleading statements like pythons are with a length of over 7 meters or 23
Python
feet,
is 7 meters
larger than
long.
an African elephant.
That's what you.
While the
It
bootleg
was
worm,
me.
55 meters or 180 feet, according to the Guinness
Bonk.
Book, the
Hi.
longest
Hello.
animal in the world, is larger than every
Hello.
dinosaur. When comparing the size of many anatomically different animals, weight is therefore the easiest and most fair measurement to
What?
use.
Wait. Oh, they compare animals by weight and not by length. Interesting. Weight is. I don't think that's the right value.
With that out of the way, let's begin to visualize just how big blue whales really are.
How big
Let's begin
it
with
really
an animal
is.
that everyone has seen before. A horse.
A horse,
gives us
of
good
course.
reference point. Depending on the type of horse, the weight of course varies quite significantly. But your typical Western horse weighs about 500 kilos or 1100 pounds, so about as much as 7 average humans. About twice as big, with a weight of 1 metric ton, is the American bison, the largest animal in North America. Interestingly, of all the land animals, the bison is still relatively closely related to modern whales. They belong, just like the terrestrial ancestors of whales, to the order of even-hoofed animals, so mammals that bear their weight equally on 2, the third and the fourth, of their 5 toes. Other examples of even-hoofed animals are pigs, camels, deer, cattle, sheep, goats, giraffes, and most importantly, the hippo. These 1.5 metric ton animals are more closely related to whales than to any land animal. But the largest living land animal is, of course...
Really? Huh? Huh?
These 1.5 metric ton animals are more closely related to whales than to any land animal. But the largest...
Those are related to whales? Uma whales? Uma.
living land animal is, of course, the African bush elephant. Particularly big boats with a shoulder height of close to 4 meters or 13 feet can reach a weight of 8 metric tons, so about as much as 100 humans. Among the extinct
100
humans,
humans.
examples in this weight class are animals like Stegosaurus and T-Rex. But when it comes to sheer size, one extraordinary group dominates: the sauropods.
Sauropods? What is a sauropod?
Dinosaurs were by far the largest land animals that ever lived.
Oh, the big dinosaurs.
Examples like Diplodocus, with a length of 27 meters and a weight of roughly 60
I'm
metric
hiding
tons,
it, but there's
or
dinosaur behind me.
Its weight a staggering 35 metric tons. But the largest sauropods, the Titanosaurs, were once again significantly larger. Patagotitan, for example, was an over 30-meter-long dinosaur with a weight of roughly 70 metric tons. Argentinosaurus, the biggest described titanosaur, weighed, according to the newest studies, even more than 80 metric tons, making it the largest dinosaur and
pretty big dinosaurs.
I
thought you were a dinosaur. I'm not a dinosaur.
In the ocean, we have giants which are, with 6 metric tons, roughly as big as an African elephant, and the biggest of the dolphins. This makes them about twice as big as the pygmy right whale. This small whale from the Antarctic is the smallest of today's baleen whales, the group to which blue whales belong. Roughly 4 times larger is the whale shark.
The whale shark, yeah, I saw some videos about whale shark.
With a weight of 12
They're pretty
tons,
big.
it is the largest shark,
But they seem to be so friendly. Why so big? Why not cook them and put them
in the
like
past,
sheep?
There were of course fish and marine reptiles that were considerably bigger still. Mosasaurus, for example. These 15 metric ton reptiles were roughly 170 times heavier than today's Komodo dragon. and are the biggest lizards
Related to the
that ever
Komodo
lived.
dragon, like the
They were
lizard,
also one of
the
the
big
largest
lizard.
marine reptiles. In fact, only one group seemed to have exceeded them considerably in size, the ichthyosaurs. The largest described species had a length of 20 meters or 65 feet and a weight of 30 to 40 metric tons. Only one animal that lived in the ocean that wasn't a whale was still bigger. Megalodon. The largest specimens could possibly reach
The
a weight of
Megalodon.
50 to 60 metric
But
tons, about
we
as
don't
much
know
as
if
a
it really
sperm whale,
existed.
the biggest of the toothed whales. But
Yeah,
all these records on land
this
and in
type of
water
whale.
are dwarfed by one animal.
The
And
funny
with
name
that, we have
whale.
finally
Shark.
arrived at the
Shark
star
is
of
not a
this myth, the
megalodon.
blue whale.
Shark is
With an
a
average length of
cherry
25
shark.
meters or 80 feet and an average weight of 110 metric tons, adult blue whales are already the largest animals that ever lived. However, they still can get considerably larger than that. Today, blue whales in the southern hemisphere live separated from those in the northern hemisphere.
Really?
Like
They
their
don't
northern
mix up
relatives,
anymore?
They spend the summer months in the food-rich polar regions and feed on the abundant and dense patches of krill found there to build up a thick layer of fat reserves for the winter. At the end of every
Fat
fall,
reserve.
they begin an up to 5,000 kilometer long migration into warmer but less rich subtropical and tropical waters where they breed and give birth. Because the seasons in the southern hemisphere are offset from those in the northern hemisphere, the migrations of the respective blue whale populations are similarly offset. Southern hemisphere blue whales are generally larger than northern hemisphere animals, and females are once more about 6% longer than males.
Okay, so the
Therefore,
biggest
you must find an
blue whales
exceptionally large
are
whale looking
where
for a
it's like
particularly old
hotter.
and well-fed female in the southern hemisphere at the end of summer is probably the best approach.
Females are
The
bigger,
longest whale found
yeah.
by scientists was a female
I am
29.9
huge.
meters or 98 feet long that weighed about 180 metric tons and possibly could have reached a weight of about 210 metric tons during the late summer. The longest whales ever recorded were two females measuring 33.6 and 33.3 meters, or
33.
110 and 109.
I just wonder,
The weight of
how can they be sure about the size of the whale? Like, do they go underwater with like whale metric? Like, do they use like like meters or like measurement equipment underwater? I guess I can scan them. Interesting. Because like, how can they be so sure about stuff?
such giants would most likely approach 250
They have
metric
submarines,
tons.
but they
These
not have
measurements,
like
however, should
their submarines are not like taking measurement of them, right? Because since what is since and boy the guy what are those? I don't know those. What does it mean? Are those real words? Science and biology. Sorry, I'm French. There's some way of writing words that I don't know.
be treated with a bit of caution at least, as they came from whalers,
A big
not scientists. Additionally, you can't verify them anymore, as commercial whaling in the last century decimated baleen populations and very probably removed most, if not all, of the super old blue whales out there. In the Antarctic Ocean, blue whales were hunted until the 1970s, which reduced their population there by close to 99.9%.
Yeah, so many whales died because of people just hunting the whales and like killing them all for their meat and eating them. So English better than shark English. No, you know one thing you can realize that I'm not an English speaker native is because when I read I'm very slow, and I realize like when Shark is like reading stuff like on a game or like dialogues and stuff, I'm like, whoa. I wish I could be like her. Orca are eating baby whales. Yeah, I know. I also learned about that. Like when a whale heard an orca sound, they like swim very fast to the location of the sound because they know it's like the orcas are hunting and they try to protect the prey because they want to revenge for their babies.
Globally, the blue whale population was reduced from 350 to 400,000 individuals at the turn of the 20th century to less than 5,000 60 years later. Even today, more than 50 years after blue whale hunting was banned internationally, they only managed a minor recovery, and only a few whales likely now exceed 30 meters or 100 feet in length. Still, even a 30-meter blue
sad.
whale weighs more than two Argentinosaurs, 3 megalodons, 5 brachiosaurs, 20 T-Rex, 25 African elephants, 350 horses, or
20
2300
T-Rex.
average humans. One reason that it is so hard to imagine just how large blue whales really are probably has to do with a lack of reference points in the ocean. If you were to put a blue whale next to an Airbus A320, one of the most common medium-range airliners, their size would become a lot more apparent. A similar comparison
Wait,
with a new
so-
Tesla Model
So a plane is like similar length to a very big whale. Wait, isn't there like a type of plane that is called the beluga? I think there is a type of plane called the beluga. Is that because of it? I know belugas are like smaller whales, but maybe it is because flying whales. They fly in the skies
3, an NBA field,
and transport
or the
people on
space
their
shuttle would
back
make it even clearer.
toward their next
Blue whales are gigantic.
destination.
Of course, such a huge animal can also be expected to have some record-breaking organs. The heart, for instance, is the largest known in any animal. It is big enough that a human could stand in it, and weighs as much as a horse.
A huge
With each of
heart.
its 5 to 6 beats per minute, it pumps about 500 liters or 130 gallons of blood into the bloodstream. The aorta that transports the blood through the body is thick enough that a human could squeeze through it, and ensures that the roughly 8,000 liters or 2,000 gallons of blood the whale has reach even the furthest body parts, the penis for instance. On average around 2.5 meters or 8 feet long.
What
and
is this
37 meters
fact?
or 1 feet in
I don't
diameter,
wanna know
it too
this.
is the largest in the animal kingdom. In
I don't
particular,
care.
while without individuals, it can even reach a length of up to 5 meters or 16 feet and a weight of half a metric ton. But
I don't
perhaps
care
the most
about those
impressive feature
facts.
of the blue whale is its gigantic mouth, which allows it to take in huge volumes of water to filter for food. When feeding, blue whales dive below the surface to depths of 1 to 200 meters and then lunge into swarms of tiny krill above them at several meters per second. As they strike, they open their mouths at a wide, almost 90-degree angle, allowing tens of thousands of liters of prey-filled water to flow in. Dozens of parallel
Not too
and
hard,
repeated
yeah.
throat grooves that extend
That one has
all
a
the way to the
huge
belly
heart.
give the
Yeah,
whale
it's
the
too
ability to
big.
stretch its throat
It's
enough
bigger than
to
my
take in its
body.
own body weight in water, up to 200,000 liters or 50,000 gallons. Of course, that means that when feeding, the biggest blue whales temporarily weigh around 400 metric tons, more than a
Huge.
747. Because the
Like
giant
they
volumes
when
of
they are
water rushing
eating,
in could
like
potentially
they
rip
are
its
taking
jaw
the
apart when doing
like
this,
food.
the whale
When they are taking their food, they are like twice bigger than their usual height. Okay.
initially has to actively control the flow of the water with its tongue and certain muscles in its jaw. After the jaws have closed around the engulfed water, it uses its giant tongue, which alone weighs as much as an African elephant, to force the water out again through a special comb-like structure on the upper jaw called baleen, filtering out everything edible, primarily of course krill. But small
Oh, that's why they have those kind of teeth, like those like very thin teeth. No, technically they're not drinking the water. They're just eating, like they suppress the water by like pushing it through their belly, if I understand it right. So they're just eating the krill and not the water with it. They eat water. Crazy.
fish and squid too are sometimes inevitably caught that way. A human, however, couldn't be swallowed by a blue whale, despite its enormous size, as they can't swallow anything wider than a beach ball.
Wider than a beach ball. So if anybody have this fear getting eaten by a whale, it's not possible. A blue whale can't eat you. They doesn't have enough like space. They can't eat anybody.
The blue whale's technique of filter feeding is called lunge feeding, and is one reason for the incredible success
Lunge
of today's
feeding?
baleen whales. But this technique is only worth the effort when enough prey is available, as every lunge costs huge amounts of energy. Because opening its jaws is essentially like opening a big parachute underwater, it grinds the whale to an almost complete halt within seconds. That means for every new attempt, blue whales have to accelerate their massive bodies again, which costs up to 2,000 calories. This is also thought to be the
That's
reason
using
why
a
blue
lot
whales
of
are only
energy
capable
just
of
to try to
relatively short
eat.
dives compared to other whales like sperm whales, for instance. However, if enough food is available, there's no better method to ensure quick and easy hunting success. A good catch can yield the whale half a ton of krill, 500,000 calories in one gulp. During a typical 10-minute dive,
Imagine getting that much calorie in
might catch and swallow up to 2 million calories
in one
worth
gulp.
of krill, or the equivalent of 6,600 cheeseburgers. A single dive can therefore provide enough food to cover the whale's daily energy requirement of 1.5 million calories. During the summer, they typically eat around 40 million krill a day, so roughly 3 to 4 metric tons. These 4 million calories allow the whale to build up the giant fat reserves it needs to survive the winter in the tropics, where they breed and give birth.
They breathe and give birth. Don't talk about that thing again, please.
Blue whales are enormous and the biggest in the animal kingdom. At birth, they are, with a length of 7 meters and a weight of
7 meters babies.
Pounds, already as big as an adult great white. Since they are mammals,
7 meters
blue whale calves
babies.
are nursed during the first few months of their lives. The milk they drink has a very high fat concentration of 30 to 50%, 10 times higher than that of human.
How do they give milk to the babies? Like, they're in water. Aren't the milk dissolving? Isn't it super hard to drink something in water? Their milk is very thick. I guess. They might be. I mean, there's a high percentage of fat, so maybe that's why?
Or cow milk, which gives it an almost toothpaste-like consistency. This has two reasons. On the one hand, it makes feeding underwater easier, as the milk doesn't easily dissolve into the water. On the other hand, it provides the necessary nutrients and energy the calf needs to quickly grow large enough to survive the challenging migrations. A calf drinks between 200 to 400 liters of milk a day. That's around 90 gallons. This allows it to grow at a rate unparalleled in the animal world. Nearly 100 kilos, 200 pounds do they gain per day. That's
Per day?
4 kilos.
Per day? Per day? They grow like one big human per day. That's huge. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of weight for gain in a day.
Or 9 pounds per hour.
Mm-mm-mm.
By the time the calf is weaned, 7 to 9 months later, it will have reached a length of 15 meters or 50 feet and a weight between 20 to 25 metric tons, making it already larger than any other animal that isn't a whale. Of course, all these records raise the obvious question why and how blue whales became so large in the first place. Initially, it was believed that it simply must be easier underwater to reach such sizes, because ocean animals don't have to hold up their own weight, and that whales therefore continuously grew larger and larger over the course of their evolution.
Yeah, I feel like if humans were like an aquatic species, I feel like we will be huge. We could have been huge. Giant underwater species.
However, as we now know, this is not correct. While it is true that the weightlessness underwater allows an animal to grow much faster than on land, it isn't the reason they grow. In actuality, it is possibly even more difficult underwater to surpass a certain size threshold, due to the lack of said reasons. A certain body size is of course a strict requirement in marine mammals, primarily because of the increased heat loss underwater. Cold water drains heat away from the body 25 times faster than air. Smaller animals are more affected by this, because the smaller you are, the more your body's surface increases in relation to its volume.
Wait, isn't there? I'm just thinking. Is there like there is like most of like the cold water animals are like huge. Is that the reason why they're all big? It's because it's cold, so they need to be bigger to get like all the heat to keep the heat.
Evolving a large round body, paired with a thick layer of fat to insulate it, is an easy way to solve this problem effectively. Beyond that, however, increased size quickly becomes a problem, especially in the oceans. The biggest land animals today and in the past were almost exclusively herbivores. Plants make up the lion's share of Earth's biomass. They outweigh humans 10,000 to 1 and account for 80% of all biomass, thereby presenting an almost endless food supply for large land animals. In the oceans, however, their biomass is comparably small, and most of it is made up of microscopic algae, unusable for large fish or
there is almost no plants underwater.
Therefore becomes a big energy management problem. How do you supply the additional body mass with enough fuel? On land, larger size means protection from predators, while plants provide an easy food source to supply the additional body weight with energy. Ideal conditions to increase in size. In the oceans, however, every large animal inevitably has to become a predator itself. For them, an excessive increase in size would more often than not create more problems than advantages. That is because, as they grow in length, their volume and consequently their energy demand
Drowning
grows
plants.
exponentially.
No, they're not drowning plants. There's like some plants that exist in the water, but like it's like a small amount compared to what we have on the land.
The food demand similarly. At the same time, above a certain body mass, agility and speed start to decrease,
Fish
making
plants.
hunting more difficult. This paradox usually prevents ocean animals to grow beyond a certain point. The sweet spot for most marine mammals seemed to be 500 kilos or 1100 pounds, and even for large
500 kilos. Sea cows. Sea cows, like cows underwater. Seals, like all the seals family. There's a I didn't thought there were that many type of seals, but there is. But there is more whales. But the thing is, I feel like they're mixing the whales and the dolphins, cause like whales and dolphins aren't the same species. They're a different type.
apex predators like sharks, toothed whales, and most marine reptiles from the past. The
Oh,
maximum
they
weight
also
of a
mix
few
with
tons
sharks.
seemed to
I
be the
see.
norm, far from the enormous sizes baleen whales can reach. So what made these different? In general, exceptions from this rule are
Oh
often
no
the
no,
result of
they
very specific and unique
separated them.
conditions that are typically based on a fragile balance
Hello.
that can easily be destroyed and therefore often result in an evolutionary dead end. In whales, scientists believe gigantism is likely the result of two major factors. The first was the evolution of a new, more efficient way of feeding, filter feeding. Filtering
Yeah.
tiny animals in bulk from
They
the water,
use a
like
huge
all
amount of
baleen do, has
food
one
in
major
like
advantage:
one moment.
energy efficiency. Instead of having to spend energy hunting a single prey item, energy that could be wasted if it escapes, blue whales simply glide through dense clouds of krill like aquatic combine harvesters. Due to the small size of the prey, it has no chance of escaping, guaranteeing a successful hunt while keeping the energy consumption comparably low. This makes filter feeding one of the most efficient feeding strategies underwater, as long as enough prey is available. Observations of the feeding habits of blue whales have shown that despite
One
the
in the
relatively high
curling.
initial outlay in energy, the result of their massive size, the whales typically regain up to 90 times as much energy as they spent. If a whale swims into a particularly dense swarm, it might even recover 1000 times more energy. Such a high efficiency is essential to surpass a certain size threshold.
They
It is no
eat more
coincidence
than they
that some of the largest
consume.
ocean animals today and from the past use this kind of strategy. However, the evolution of filter feeding alone doesn't explain the whale's high efficiency when hunting, or their gigantism in general. Baleen whales first evolved around 30 million years ago, and yet their size didn't significantly change over the next 25 million years. Even when their species diversity drastically increased 20 million years ago, reaching its maximum 5 million years ago, most baleen whales were only between 5 to 10 meters or 15 to 30 feet in length. In relative terms, certainly large, but compared to today's dimensions, rather small. Only during the last 3 million years, roughly with the start of the Pleistocene Ice Age, baleen whales suddenly began to grow rapidly, and up to 4 times independently from one another. At the same time, most of the smaller species went extinct, so that today even the smallest baleen whales are quite large compared to the typical whale prior to this event. This
So,
suggests
like,
that the drastic changes in the
what?
ocean's ecosystem
That mean there's like a huge amount of like whales we don't know because they all died because they were too small.
during the last ice age probably caused the gigantism in baleen whales. With the onset of the Northern Hemisphere glaciation, the oceans began to experience rapid fluctuations in sea levels. Drops of 50 to 100 meters, 150 to 300 feet, within a few thousand years became common and repeatedly destroyed or reduced the shallow tropical shelf areas that previously were the habitat of many baleen whale species.
Wait, sea level without glaciation and mass. So right now we're on the without glaciation, so the baleens can like live here on those places. But if we are on the glaciation period, those baleens weren't able to exist because it will be too cold, I guess.
In addition to that, the final close of the Isthmus of Panama had disrupted the water circulation between the Pacific and the Atlantic, and had caused a drastic decline in planktonic productivity in the tropics, which furthermore impacted the baleen whale population negatively. All these factors likely drove the Caribbean-wide regional mass extinction between 4 and 2 million years ago, that killed, among others, many of the medium-sized baleen whale species.
They died, and no more whales.
At the same time, the
No more
continuous
smaller
cooling of the
whales.
oceans resulted in a global shift in wind and ocean currents, which changed the way water and nutrients were distributed. As a result, intense seasonal upwellings paired with an accumulation of iron dust along the ice shelves produced variable and widely scattered zones of extreme planktonic productivity. Baleen whales had
Oh,
already
that's
the
for
right
the
tools to
plankton.
capitalize on this new
Okay.
and abundant food source, but it required a major shift in their lifestyle, a shift from a more sedentary to a migratory way of life. This sudden need for long-distance migration likely exerted a selective pressure on the remaining whale species to grow larger, as a larger size helps to travel long distances effectively and survive long periods of food scarcity. So, recent gigantism in whales is, most likely, linked to the appearance of a sudden seasonal abundance of widely scattered patches of prey that baleen whales, due to their unique feeding technique, were already able to take maximum advantage of. And once the unique conditions that allowed or required them to grow were actually met, they did so faster than any other group of animals in history. Even if you include the 25 million years during which baleen whales didn't significantly increase.
Then, wait. If there is more... Wait. If there is more food in the north because of the ice that melting, if there is more food for the baleen, for the whales, why are the northern whales smaller than the southern whales? Because they have more food in the north. Why would they be smaller? Plankton from SpongeBob, don't know, he's famous. Now we talk about the
In only
food.
5 million generations, they increased their body mass 5,000 times. In only 50 million years, the terrestrial ancestors of whales that were barely larger than a house cat evolved to be the largest animals the world has ever seen.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, they need to keep their heat. If not, they will die from freezing. No, but I'm talking about that they are smaller in the north. Usually, when you have more food, like more abundance of food, like a very like a very good amount of food, you usually get bigger, not smaller. This PC is interesting. Yeah.